Good evening, Spartans. I hope you guys had a great day. I'm excited to share with you a story for our bedtime story time. It's one of my favorite stories that I share with my kindergarten class every year, and this story is called Caps for Sale. It's a funny story about some monkeys and a peddler. The author is Esfer Slobokinia, and he's the author and the illustrator of this story. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he was not like an ordinary peddler carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. First he had his own checkered hat, then a bunch of gray caps, then a bunch of brown caps, then a bunch of blue caps, and on the very, very top, he had a bunch of red caps. He walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight so as not to upset his caps. And as he went along, he called, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a piece." Would you want to buy one of those caps for 50 cents a piece? One morning, he couldn't sell any caps at all. So he walked up the street and he walked down the street calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." But nobody wanted any caps. Nobody even wanted a red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," said he, and he walked out of town slowly, slowly, so as not to upset his caps. Can you imagine walking with all of those caps on top of your head? He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," thought he, and he sat down very slowly under the tree, and he leaned back little by little against the tree trunk so as not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put up his hand to feel if they were straight. First his own checkered cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, and the red caps on the very, very top. Look, he's going to take a nap with all of those caps on top of his head. They were all there, so he went to sleep, and he slept for a very long time. And when he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. Do you notice anything different about the picture? What is missing? But before standing up, he felt his head to make sure that his caps were in the right place. All he felt was his own checkered cap. Uh-oh, where did all of his caps go? He looked to the right of him, no caps. He looked to the left of him, no caps. He looked in back of him, no caps. He looked behind the tree, still no caps. Where else do you think he should look? Then he looked up in the tree. And what do you think he saw? What do you think he saw? On every branch sat a monkey, and on every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. Oh my goodness, look at that. Who took his caps? The peddler looked at the monkeys, and the monkeys looked at the peddler. He didn't know what to do, and finally he decided to speak to them. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking his finger at him. "You give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said, "Tss, tss, tss, tss." This made the peddler angry, and he shook both of his hands and he said, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their hands back at him and said, "Tss, tss, 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 tss." Now he felt quite upset, so he decided to stomp his feet. Ooh, is that what we do when we're upset? "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stomped their feet back at him and said, "Tss, tss, 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 tss." By this time, the peddler was really upset, and he stamped both of his feet and said, "You monkeys, you must give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped both of their feet back at him and they said, "Tss, tss, 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 tss." And at last, he became so upset that he pulled off his own cap, threw it on the ground, and he began to walk away. But then each monkey pulled off his cap, and all the gray caps, and all of the brown caps, and all of the blue caps, and all of the red caps came flying down out of the tree. What were they doing? What were the monkeys doing? So the peddler picked up his caps and put them back on his head. First his own checkered cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, and the red caps on the very top. So the monkeys, they could not understand what the peddler was saying. They could only see what he was doing and was copying him. And slowly he walked back from calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." The end. So boys and girls, when we read this story and we see how upset the peddler got when the monkeys took his caps, he forgot to use his calm voice. And he was very upset, and the monkeys were copying him. So we need to remember when we're talking to our friends that other people might copy the way we're acting. So we want to make sure that we're acting calm and using our words and being like Jesus would like us to be. So I hope you all enjoyed this story. You have a great night. Remember to say your prayers, get tucked in, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow at school.